Dr. Dave Everard is Sappi's Divisional Environmental Manager. He's a hands-on person who much prefers being under open skies to inside an office. Under his guidance, Claremont in KZN last year became the first of Sappi's open conservation areas to receive official nature reserve status. Dave is based in Pietermaritzburg, but every so often he gets a chance to visit the other Sappi regions to see how the other environmental managers are doing. Today he is in Mpumalanga, looking at the next area to be proclaimed as a nature reserve. Although the plantations make it look very similar to KZN, and although it is still part of the Drakensberg, it is a different world.
Mpumalanga is an important part of Sappi forests. I think about a half of Sappi forests is in Mpumalanga. The landscape is slightly different to the KZN landscape in that it's a mix between high veld and then some lower escarpment areas. And Mpumalanga, from a landscape point of view is pretty different. There are a lot of different things going on. From a conservation point of view, there's more grassland. The countryside or the landscapes are probably steeper in some places on the escarpment or higher on the high veld. And so Mpumalanga actually has more area that is unplanted than KZN. But it's a very important part of Sappi forest. We have the huge Budwana mill, which is the big production for Mpumalanga. We come here to look at what's going on from a forestry point of view and a conservation point of view.
Dave's doctorate is in botany, and he still can't help but get excited over plants that all look the same to the untrained eye.
Now this is interesting because this is Phoria richettiana. It's got a new name, but Phoria would be the typical kind of savanna woody species in these grasslands, a typical summer rainfall species that grows here, and there's the flower. So that would be a typical woody species, tree species in these grasslands. But this, now here, is a fynbos species, well, an erica, which are traditionally fynbos species. This is Erica Drakensbergiensis, I think, and it's a summer rainfall erica, so it's not actually a fynbos species as such, although fynbos actually describes the fine leaves of it, but it's an erica which traditionally people thought were Cape species. So a very interesting, diverse grassland here. Isn't it beautiful, just coming into flower with the little black insides of the flowers.
Dave's other big love is birding. Last year, he took me to a crowned eagle nest in Sappi's part of the Karkloof Reserve. But today, it is the Mpumalanga environmental manager, Peter Hardy's turn to show Dave their crowned eagle nest. Also in an ancient gum that was left specifically for the breeding pair. It is on the Glenthorpe plantation. And these aren't the only ones for this threatened bird, whose supply of suitable nesting trees are fast disappearing.
We know of approximately 12 nests that are on Sappi land in Mpumalanga, of which about 8 are active. They're not always active at the same time, so you'll have 5 to 4 every year that will be breeding.
This nest has been here before my time. I got here 5.5 years ago and it was already breeding here.
Okay. And the nest is pretty stable, or is it blown down?
Well, actually in the last 6 years the nest is blown down twice, 2-3 times already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And every second of the year it actually falls down.
About 30% of Sappi's land is unplanted. Using the rapid assessment and other tools, they've identified all the areas which are of conservation value. Some of these will one day also be declared official nature reserves. Although relatively small, Taljaard's Vlei is one of them.
The value of Taljaard's Vlei is that it's such a rich source of orchid species and has been known to be for many, many years. A lot of the collectors and orchid experts have visited here and have taken magnificent photographs of the orchids existing here. And that's why this particular area, although it's only about 30 hectares in size, it is on the candidate list to be set aside as a proclaimed nature reserve because of its high diversity.
Yeah.
This is also one of our grassland monitoring sites, and we do monitor it every third year to see whether we need to increase the burning frequency or change it in any way through the species composition. The most prevalent animals are baboon and all the smaller buck that do occur here, and mountain reed buck is here. There's not really a cattle problem here.
So all this turning up here is, you think, baboon mostly? Baboon and maybe a few bush pig?
It could be bush pig as well.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I really point the blame fairly and squarely on baboon. I think they are very destructive in their foraging habits, because they do uproot a lot of the tuberous plants, and it looks quite devastating at times when they move through. These rocky ridges coming through the wetland are also important for diversity. They have a whole host of different helichrysums and a whole range of other species. This one has got shorter leaves to the other species we saw earlier, and so I think it's Helichrysum reflexum. And then this one forms a mat over the rock and creeps. You can see it creeping up there on the surface of the rock. This little thing here is a type of Euryops. It's a member of the Compositae family, and it has a bright little yellow flower, and also occurs in these sort of moist rocky areas.
But the next area to receive the coveted status from nature conservation after Claremont is also here in Mpumalanga. The Ngondwana Valley is not just exciting for scientists, it is breathtakingly beautiful.
What we have here is approximately 900 hectares of grassland that Sappi is going to put under stewardship. What that means is it's going to be declared as a nature reserve, and the advantages of that is that first of all, anything that is declared a nature reserve precludes mining, and mining is a huge threat for us here in Mpumalanga. We have so many mining applications for prospecting and exploitation of our mineral resources, which is not a bad thing, but we have to identify the important conservation areas and not allow that to go under mining. Another important aspect of why this is a good stewardship site is that whenever you have a grassland that adjoins an existing nature reserve, it immediately increases the importance of it, because it gives a much wider area of conservation. And just across the river and the dam on the other side is the Berlin State Forest, and that's the Kutsia Nature Reserve that has been proclaimed. So it makes it a very large conservation area.
Not just for the grasslands, but also for the indigenous forests that have all but gone forever. And of course, the rich human history which goes back for centuries. As the most recent landowners, it is important that Sappi fulfill their role as custodians who will one day hand over to future generations responsibly.